We used to go on these team building retreats. And at the team building retreat, we would do these little exercises. Those of you that have worked in corporate America, or those of you that have gone to camp anywhere, they do these at camps. You know these team building exercises. And we thought, we would have to go through the motions because the executives were there. So in corporate America, a lot of times you got to have that fake enthusiasm. The executives, so you got to be like, yes! And in your mind, you think, I just want to shoot everybody, right? So we would do these trust exercises. One trust exercise they would do is they would have, somebody that was on your team, maybe a supervisor, maybe a coworker, stand behind you, right? And they would have you stand in front of that person with your arms. Okay, how many guys done this before? How many guys know about that? And they would give the talk. They would say, it's important for every single team to have trust established because it's impossible for an organization to exist without trust. So we've got to be able to trust each other. We've got to be able to trust in the feedback that we have. So this is an exercise that really exemplifies trust and shows you that, people are there to catch you if you fall. We're working as a cohesive unit with synergy, all these words, right? And then they'll say, okay, now fall. And you know what would happen, right? We were just supposed to fall. But we were all standing in line. First we would look at each other, and then we would look back at the person that was supposed to catch up. And we would do things like spread your feet, spread your feet, spread your feet a little bit more. Spread your feet. Okay, you good? You good? You ready? Okay, all right. And then we would fall back, right? Wait a minute, I'm not done. Because what we were doing before we failed was a trust check. We wanted to make sure what was waiting to catch us was able to hold us. We wanted to make sure that what we were falling into was stable enough and strong enough to keep us from hitting the floor. That's what you need to do in your life. You need to realize that your money isn't stable enough to catch you. Your degree isn't stable enough to catch you. Your friends and your family aren't stable enough to catch you. Here you are worried about something and trusting in some things that are going to ultimately let you fall and hit the floor. But when you realize that you serve a God that can do anything but fail, when you look back over your shoulder and realize I'm totally trusting and relying in Jesus. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care what they do. I don't care what they say. I don't care how I feel. I'm going to go to sleep tonight because I know the Lord is behind me. And as long as the Lord is behind me, I can fall and know that He can catch me and hold me in place. Thank you. Because His arms, the Bible says, His arms are strong enough to hold mountains. The Bible says that salvation was a work of His hands. It's amazing to me the things that we trust in that are fleeting and frail, when the reality is that we serve a God that flung the stars, the sun, and the moon into place, that holds everything by the word of His power, and that's able to keep your life from falling. Do a trust check. David did. David said, trust in the Lord and do well. Then he says, dwell in the land and live in, the NIV says, safe pastures. But I like the way that the New King James Version says it. The New King James Version says in verse 3, trust in the Lord and do good, dwell in the land and feed on His faithfulness. Feed on His faithfulness. What you feed yourself ultimately determines your level of comfort. If you continue to feed yourself those things that make you worry, I've never understood somebody that knows that they have a worry problem, but all they do is watch the news, sun up till sundown. No, you're afraid of dying, but you got the first 48 on TV. I've never understood people that know they got that one friend that always just feeds these negative, worrisome things. Girl, you sure he ain't cheating? Wait a minute. And then you start thinking about it, and you start, I've never understood why we keep feeding ourselves things that ultimately worries. I never understood. David said, I'm not going to feed myself on my situation. I'm going to feed myself on his faithfulness. Because I realize that what I feed myself ultimately will drive and motivate my level of comfort. If I can feed myself his faithfulness, if I can feed myself his grace, if I can feed myself his word, if I can feed myself his presence, then I understand that what goes inside will ultimately be reflected on the outside, and I'll be able to live a life of tranquility even though I have an army chasing me. This is amazing. David says, feed on his faithfulness. And then verse 4 is an often misinterpreted passage that we have to clear up. Because David says, delight yourself in the Lord, and he'll give you the desires of your heart. Now we hear that, and we think, okay, well, if I feed myself on God, then he's going to give me whatever my heart desires. If I feed myself on his presence, on his faithfulness, then whatever my heart wants, he's going to give me. But that's a misinterpretation of this text. This verse is about exchange. He said, if you delight yourself in me, then all of a sudden I'll take those ungodly desires out of your heart, and I'll give you new desires. I'll place desires in your heart that you didn't have before. Right now you're desiring to worry, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a new desire that says peace. Right now you're desiring to be upset, but I'm going to give you a new desire that says happiness. Right now you're desiring to be crazy, but I'm going to give you a new desire to be peaceful and tranquil. I will give you the desires of your heart. It's a spin on the text that we often misinterpret, that we have to realize God's not saying, read your word and I'll give you a Bentley. No, what he's saying is, as you feed yourself on me, an exchange will take place. I'll take your ungodly desires out, I'll put new desires in, and I'll make your life brand new. Worry, I'll exchange it for peace. If you can feed on that, God says, I'll become your desire. My will become your desire. My word will become your desire. And if his will, his word, his way is your desire, then worry has to cease. Because where perfect love is, fear can't be there. David realizes that the desires that he needs in order to continue his courage are the desires that's given to him by God. And then he admonishes us to commit our way to the Lord. Trust also in him. He shall bring it to pass. He shall bring forth your righteousness as the light and your justice as the noonday. Verse 7, rest in the Lord. Rest. You know there's a difference between sleep and rest? Just because you got some sleep doesn't mean you got rest, because you wake up in the morning feeling like you didn't get any sleep whatsoever. You know, rest is exemplified in the book of Acts, where Peter was in prison. They were to execute him in the morning. He knew that the king was down to execute him because he had just beheaded James. So he knew that it wasn't the king's resolve that was going to keep him from being executed. For all he knew, in the morning, he was going to die. Now, how many of us, if we knew that we were going to be executed in the morning, would be able to sleep at night? We'd be up. We'd be up crying, oh, I can't believe it. Right? Thinking about all the things we never got a chance to do. Bible says, though, that Peter, facing execution in the morning, said, I might die in the morning, but I'm going to sleep tonight. Now, at the same time that Peter was sleeping, the saints were praying. They were praying fervently for Peter, and an angel came as Peter was sleeping. Sprung Peter out of jail. Peter went free, went where the saints were praying, knocked on the door. They didn't even believe it was him at the door. He went in there totally unharmed. And I believe he went in there vibrant. Like, why y'all in here praying? I was asleep. I'm feeling good. I got a chance to rest. What y'all tripping off of? Don't you know the God that I serve? Rest. Being able to take a deep breath and say, God, don't know what's going to happen in the morning, but tonight, I'm going to allow my mind to relax, and I'm just going to know that you're in charge. Rest in the Lord. This is coming from a man that was facing an army. And he's admonishing us to rest. If you don't hear anything else from this sermon this morning, hear this. Hear this. God, his ultimate desire and plan for you is that you're able to rest in him. His ultimate desire and plan for you is that you don't lose years off of your life worrying about stuff that you can't change. Because the reality is, the majority of the stuff that you're worried about is stuff that you have no influence over whatsoever. His desire for you is that you'll go to bed at night, whether you're going to bed in a 1-bedroom or a 4-bedroom, whether you're going to bed next to a man or a woman, or you're going to bed all by yourself, whether you're going to bed with a Bentley in the driveway, or whether you're going to bed with a Pinto or nothing in the driveway. He wants you to be able to not just sleep, but rest. He wants you to be able to relax your mind. Walk away from the tensions of life and know that he's got it. My daughter is amazing because to me, she is a picture of rest because she's able to go to sleep in any environment. Do you know kids like that? I mean, the vacuum can be on, the TV can be blasting, somebody could be blending some cake mix in the kitchen, the dog could be barking outside, World War III could be going on, people could be shooting and robbing and looting, and my daughter, in the midst of all that, will climb in the bed and still sleep. Mom and dad could be arguing and everything. All hell could be breaking loose. An earthquake could hit, and my daughter just rests. And what better example for you and I to follow? Because I believe that my daughter innately knows that she's not supposed to worry about everything else that's going on, because when she looks to the right, she sees her daddy. And she's able to understand innately that he's got it, so I'm going to sleep. And this is the same admonishment for everybody in this place today. Rest. David says in verse 5, commit your way to the Lord. You know what the word commit literally means in the Hebrew? You know what it literally translates out to? Roll over on. Roll over on. Literally conjures up a picture of somebody that is in their bed in an uncomfortable position that rolls over into a new spot in the bed, the sweet spot, and they're able to find comfort in that new spot. It's almost the same imagery in the Hebrew. Commit, roll over on. With armies following me, I'm rolling over on you, Jesus. With bills, I'm rolling over on you, Jesus. With disaster, wars, rumors of wars, recession, I'm rolling over on you, Jesus. Because I realize that through all of this, your desire is for me, like David said, to rest and wait patiently. Not to fret, but to allow the peace that passes all understanding to guard my heart and mind.